Hey guys, jumping right in with the time lapse, and what I'm adding here is actually a residential asset that I turned into a commercial asset using the ploppable Rico mod, because in the real life one that we saw in the last episode, and if you haven't checked out the last episode yet, I recommend you do it. We took a look at the real life apartment complex where I used to live that sort of inspired this build. In that episode we looked at the office building slash kind of community house, and it's a very residential looking structure, and I wanted to do something like that. The only thing I didn't like about that asset is the pool in back, but there's a new mod out called the Prop It Up mod that allows you to remove props from assets, or especially for trees, or to replace trees, and I'm really looking to put that to use to try to fix little things like that. So we'll see how that goes. The next step in this build was to look at the playground, and I really wanted to do a nice playground, a lot like the one that exists in the real life example that we looked at in the last episode. But there's so many cool custom assets, and I used some of the vanilla ones too, but really wanted to incorporate some of the cool monkey bar assets, and now I'm just putting some chained bollards around it to kind of contain that area, because you don't want your kids running off all over God's green earth when you're just trying to bring them to the playground and sit down on the bench and let them work off some energy. I know this from experience. So I'm pretty happy with the way that playground turned out, and we're going to add some foliage around it too to make it look a little less sparse. Now we're going to get into one of my favorite parts of this build. I wanted to open this property up with a traffic circle and put a little fountain in there, and I actually was able to clip a sculpture in, so that's kind of adds a little bit more decoration to the top of the fountain. But I wanted to create that sort of same type of garden looking traffic circle that opens up the actual property. So we're going to go through the detailing, and you're going to see all the plantings I used to make this happen, but I'm really happy with the way it came out, and it really presents a nice entrance into this property. And here I go, launching into my favorite technique, or my favorite little trick when I'm doing plantings and gardens, which you're welcome to absolutely steal, because Lord knows I've borrowed in some inspiration from lots of other builders, and that is to plant down these big ass rocks as a way of breaking up how everything's in a pattern. I mean, you can see how the rocks or the bushes around the outside are in a pattern, and now there's a pattern everywhere else. But these rocks, to me, and planting around the rocks and kind of decorating them, I'm using some flowers there and some of the, it looks like the aloe vera plants to break it up. That to me just breaks up the whole thing. It adds that little bit of randomness that I think it needs. So I love that technique. You're welcome to steal it. And now here I go, dropping some trees and some other things around to make this entryway look a little bit more filled and not look like someone just plopped these walls just randomly in front of this roundabout. Alright, after putting some lights around the pool, which I think came out really nice, clipping them into the fence that's around the pool, the next step for me was to try to do some kind of a recreation something. And I really wanted volleyball because that's what's in the actual one, but I couldn't quite find the right volleyball asset. There's one that's a really nice one, except it's surrounded by huge volleyball trees. It's in the Steam Workshop, and now with the new Prop It Up mod, I might be able to go in and reuse that. Just take out the palm trees, which don't work for the foliage that are, in the city now. So I'm considering maybe going back and taking the basketball out and going with volleyball. But we'll have to see, because this did come out okay. I'm pretty happy with the basketball court, and this asset here looks really nice. So I'm pretty pleased with it. And you'll see we'll add some parking out in front too, which is nice, because who wants to walk to exercise when you can drive? And I think now we're moving on to just filling in some of the spaces inside the wall with foliage, including around the playground there and some other parts of the apartment complex.
Hey everybody, it's your boy Ferris, and we're going to take a minute now and I'm going to give you a live mode sort of tour of this apartment complex that we built over these last 2 episodes. And we'll do some cinematics too, and most of this I feel like you've seen, but there's a couple of little highlights, so I don't expect this to be a very long live mode, but there's a couple things I want to highlight. I did lose some footage too of the build, so there are some things that you didn't actually see get built. So I definitely want to bring those to your attention as well. For starters, some small changes were made over here on this entrance. I added these tile assets in. I think it gives a little more decoration and makes the entrance feel a little bit more special. And it's also it's an idea I got from looking at the Google Earth image. If you recall at the beginning of last episode, there was like different pavement textures when you got to that traffic circle at the entrance. So I wanted to mimic that. The problem with laying these over there over the pavement is it makes this like the only and the right arrow here. It makes that sort of flash. If I can get it, there it goes. It sort of flashes when you have that on pavement, and there's one over here as well. But that's just the way it goes. But for the most part, I think it looks pretty good, so we're going to keep it as is. So this is the entryway, the little garden that we created in there. I added some new foliage, some new trees, because I'm getting less and less happy with my foliage selection that I made very early on. So I'm grabbing some new custom trees and plopping them in places, trying to either cover up or replace some of the vanilla ones that I've been using. So look for more of that too throughout the map. And also didn't like, I think I had just had one loading zone decal in here in the garbage area, and I thought these keep clear ones with these yellow stripes was a better way to handle this. So made some small changes in there. So this is our entrance, and this is the way it comes in. And anybody who's interested in leasing an apartment here, I could get you a connection. So maybe that's another reason why it's good to take a look through and see what's going on. Let's go this way down the street. And these, I think at the end of the time lapse, you saw me doing the greenery and the landscaping in these planters that are actually a part of the building assets themselves. Really, really good idea for the asset creator to kind of put these here because they look fantastic, and left them somewhat empty, which gives the player the option of kind of generating whatever kind of landscaping they think fits in there. So I thought that was really cool, and I had a lot of fun, even though it seemed kind of tedious just to kind of have to plop the same plants. But I had a lot of fun, and if you look, each one of these is slightly different, slightly unique. So actually, I'm going to pop this into nighttime so we can take a look at these lights. There we go. So I placed bollards with lights along the path. I also toyed with putting down paving stones or something else to kind of dress up this path so that it's not just a gravel path. But I think I like it as is. So I'm okay with it. But I put these bollards down with lights just to dress it up a little bit more, make it a little bit more special. So that's something that was done throughout, which I think is a nice touch. But these buildings themselves come, as you can see on the side, they come with a lot of lights, these sort of back patio lights, which are really nice. And of course the streets came with these lights. So this is a really well lit area. Oh, and these parking with the solar panels also have lights in there too. So I didn't want to add a ton of lights. Now we're over here in this corner now near the basketball court, and this was one area where I definitely did need to add some lights, so I plopped in these overheads, and they're a different color. They're a little bit more yellow, which I feel is accurate to what they do here for this kind of not really a playground, but for a basketball court, where I think maybe people on this island have never heard of basketball, because for the most part they just sort of stand around and stare at each other and go, what is this wondrous place? Like it's Stonehenge or something. But anyway, maybe one of you can move in and teach them basketball. Let me put the sun back on here. This is one part of the build where I did not have a lot of footage left, but I wanted to create I've done a lot of plantings, but I wanted to create like a neighborhood vegetable garden. And never done anything like that before, but I had some cool assets. I mean, these are like tomato plants, these are like lettuce, and this is actually corn, and these are apple trees. So I created this sort of like, community vegetable garden area where, everybody can come and help tend to some of the plants, and I would think that when it's time for them to harvest, it's sort of shared among everybody, or it's kind of a community sort of thing that some people who live here have taken it upon themselves to to maintain for the good of everybody, which is a really cool thing. And I've seen some places where they do this sort of stuff, and it's just a really cool idea. And you got your own kind of homegrown. These are sunflowers. I didn't know what else to add in there, but they look cool. So I thought that was all right. Some sunflowers in the community garden. So moving along here, we'll go through. Whoops. We'll go through and take a look at this. Actually, let's go through and take a look at the pool area. So there were some subtle changes that I did make to the pool area that, again, I didn't have the footage for, and particularly this little pavilion with the plantings, the stone paths that lead to it, and some plantings underneath there as well. This area was just a blank area between the end of the pool area and the beginning of this building, and I wasn't sure what to do with it, but I wanted to do something special. So I created a little covered pavilion, put some tables and chairs under there. I figured this might be a cool place to have like small get-togethers and gatherings for people who live here. Bring friends, hang out under there, and maybe after you're done with the pool, you can go hang out in there, and or maybe when it's nighttime, it's too dark to use the pool, then that's someplace you could also hang out. I think this was in the build, but I want to show it anyway. Come on now. Let's go this way. There we go. I can't seem to get it to a dark time of night. Why is that? Let's go. There we go. So I did add the lights with the bollards with lights along the paths going out to the pool, and of course I clipped these lights into the fence here around the pool area, which I think looks really nice. It's much better to kind of have those built into the fence than to have them just randomly plopped all around this tile area. I didn't want to do that, and I didn't want to have like big street light style things hanging over the edge. But I also added some of these little garden lights to the inside of this pavilion so that it's something that they could use at night, which I thought made it look really nice, lit it up, and made it look like a place that's a little more alive. So all in all, this is the pool area. This is how it looks at night, and for an area that's probably not going to be used much at night, I do like the way that it came out. Let's see. Oh, and one of the last things I want to show here is the community playground, which you can just see in between the buildings over there. Again, I clipped some of those garden lights into these bollards to kind of light up the area around, and I think it looks nice. It actually lights up a little bit of the fencing around here and gives the whole thing sort of a glow. I imagine this is probably not the kind of place where you want to spend a lot of time late at night, because after all, it is for kids, and kids should probably be like in bed or doing their homework, or I don't know, whatever these parents here make their kids do at night. But I thought adding the lights, number one, especially at a time like this, the colors on these custom and some of the vanilla assets for the playground really come out when you put some lights around them. So being able to see it at this time of night, for me, was also a big selling point on having it and liking what was done. And big kudos to the prop developers who did these. They look really awesome. And the benches as well, which are kind of different color, sort of cartoon color benches, which I think match really nicely with the idea of being a playground and a fun place for kids to hang out. So with that, guys, I'm going to leave you with some cinematics. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Ferris. I will see you again in episode 8, but for now, here's some cinematics of the apartment complex build. I'm so glad you guys are with me for this ride. Please click like, please subscribe, please drop a comment if there's something I could have done better or could have done worse. I'd love to hear from you. But until next time, we'll see you then.